62% of Gen Z wants to be an entrepreneur. Most people have something that they'd want to bring to life and create. With AI, technology will be democratized and the ability to build businesses will be so much easier. I think you'll start seeing a lot smaller teams and people who are all doing things that they love in a more niche way that is targeted at the community that they're serving. Big businesses will still be there for certain things for sure, but I think a lot of smaller businesses will be able to thrive in the new economy to come.
Welcome everyone to this Liberty Ventures podcast being recorded from Richard Branson's private island, Necker Island in the British Virgin Islands. I am super excited to be talking with one of our participants here, an incredible entrepreneur in the Liberty Ventures ecosystem, Nick Link, who founded the Residency. And Nick, thanks for joining the podcast today. Thanks for being here at the Principal Business Summit.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is a beautiful location.
So we've already been having a lot of conversations, and I know a little bit about you and what you're doing with the Residency already, but for everyone who's listening, just what's your story? Not only about the Residency, but what's led to you starting this and where you want to take it?
Yeah, great question. I'll start off by saying what it is. The Residency right now is a gap semester experience for founders. So we really want to give them the time and the environment to build a successful startup. We've met so many young kids who are in college currently who want to be building their startups full time, but they're restricted from college and not being able to devote all their attention to it. So yeah, really what got me there, I myself always wanted to start companies when I was younger, and I studied computer science at the University of Michigan so I could build a website one day. Never learned how to build a website in college, but got really excited about AI, so started pursuing that for 3 years after school. I worked at IBM, working on papers and patents. And then also there, I didn't have the complete freedom to work on the things that excited me most. There's a lot of bureaucracy and red tape, and I just got very excited about doing something on my own. So I took my savings, quit IBM, and started running a bunch of different experiments on different startups that I wanted to do. Things with like trying to fight against political polarization, trying to make fractionalized real estate so we could have more homeowners in the world. And redesigning the research process too, because I thought that's been kind of outdated and we can do better on the peer review processes and also training people to get into research. And during that time, I was like, wow, there's so many things that I want to be working on. I can't do them all. I've definitely realized focus is important if I want to meet the standards that I have for myself. So then decided to go all in on this idea for the Residency, because right now there's 235 million people around the world who go to college each year. And that's just a massive population of people who could be working on more interesting things and learning from those experiences rather than sitting in lecture halls, learning information that they might not ever use again. So to me, college just felt like this inefficient use of time, and they have so much potential there, and we could utilize that potential to be so much more.
So this sounds a whole lot like Peter Thiel's 20 Under 20 Fellowship, which encouraged people to not go to college, but instead start businesses if they were capable of doing that and supporting them with it.
Yeah, they started back in 2011, and that was really the origination of this wave, I think, that's happening right now in disruption of higher education. Peter said that college is stagnating progress in the world, and it's limiting innovation. And to me, that was odd at first, because it's like, what do you mean? It's like the smartest people in the world are going here, and they're training researchers.
We were told growing up, you have to go to college to succeed.
Yeah, it just felt like the place, and I didn't even question it when I was younger. I just went there. I'm 27 now. But these people nowadays, they're questioning it much more. COVID was a driving force of that. OpenAI with ChatGPT is a huge driving force. I've seen people build companies that essentially do your homework assignment for you instantly. So,
and we were talking about beforehand that AI is replacing the traditional lecture model, and the way that people consume information and education is rapidly changing, which you're tackling with the Residency.
Yeah, so that's like also a big driving factor, is that AI is definitely disrupting the best way to learn. There's a problem called Bloom 2's Sigma problem, which shows that the best way to learn is to have a one-on-one tutor, and you perform 2 standard deviations better if you have a one-on-one tutor. So we know that's the most effective way to do it, but we haven't implemented that into universities because it is more expensive. With AI, the huge promise is every person will have a personal tutor that knows them, can or put problems that are of interest to them because of their background and knowledge about that person. So we definitely believe in an AI future where every kid is learning from this personal tutor that's infinitely patient. And yeah, we question if universities will adapt to that model. They've pretty much had the same model for over 200 years now. And there's a lot of bureaucracy with accreditation, and just the institutions themselves have so many different layers of administration that we doubt they will change in the next 5 to 10 years, maybe even 20 years. So we think right now is a great time to enter this, so that in 5 years, when maybe we have AGI, which I think we will have artificial general intelligence, a computer as smart as a human, we are well positioned to be like, hey, this is how students should interact with AI to
And you're
live a
incorporating that
successful
into
life.
the residency right now.
So right now we're just very focused on serving founders who are very capable already. So they're already using ChatGPT to learn and build whatever they need to do. So we're starting with that demographic because they don't need much help. So for us, we're focusing on housing and providing that great environment for them, and then a very light structure to hold them accountable, and also to help them build relationships with each other. We think technology has done a lot of good for the world, but it has also isolated people more. And college is a great time to meet new people, live as an adult, connect and learn how to interact well with each other.
So is this almost like a residential accelerator for college-age entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I like that framing. People are like, are you a college? Are you an accelerator? And that's why we called the residency, because we're trying to make our own category, and that makes a little more sense to people.
So talk about some of the entrepreneurs who are going through this right now as you've started this.
Yeah, so there's this one named Aiden Bai, and he has a company called Million.js. And he just graduated high school, has been in a semester of college, and is joining us because he's like, yeah, why am I in college? I've already built a successful company. He made the React coding language, which is a JavaScript framework. It basically is code that is used on a lot of the websites, and he's made it 70% faster. And this is teams of meta engineers have been trying to make this faster, and he had a technical innovation building this virtual DOM to actually make it much faster. And it's that's a young 18-year-old. We should be letting him do that, not forcing him to go through 4 years of college and learn things that other people think he should learn. So a big part for us is let's give them a personalized experience through one-on-one coaching, where we have a coach meet with them once a week, figure out what kind of goals they want for the 4 months that they're with us, and try to keep them accountable and help them and think through things with them along the way.
So we've seen co-working spaces be created for a long time now to encourage entrepreneurs to be able to work with each other, but they didn't have that residential component to it that you're adding in here, and they didn't necessarily have the same structures around it that you're doing. So it sounds like if there's an entrepreneur who's in college or thinking about going to college but wants to actually build their business instead, they can come and get a lot of the college experience with you, but then get the coaching, get the structure and the connections to other entrepreneurs to build their businesses up. Is that the whole concept?
Yeah, exactly. And we're positioned right now on college campuses so that they can get that college experience. We're definitely not there yet. We just started off. Last semester was our first cohort.
And where right now? Where in the US?
We're in Berkeley, California for our first location. And then this next cohort, we have our Berkeley location and San Francisco location. And in May, we're going to have one in Cambridge, Massachusetts, so right next to Harvard's campus. And hopefully one in Berlin and Bangalore as well. So
there's a lot of growth really quickly.
Yeah, it's pretty easy for us to grow right now because people have houses already with hacker house model. So they like to work with us because we bring more interesting people to them. And for us, it's great because we want space, and they already have established communities there. So we can kind of plug them in, have our residents go through the programming that we're establishing. And yeah, it's win-win for both parties.
And how are you supporting all of this? Do you take equity in the companies that are starting up? Is this something that people just pay for? How do people actually participate, and how do you support this?
Yeah, great question. We're not taking any equity. So one reason for that is if we start taking equity, then we lose a lot of really great founders because they're like, I believe in my company, why do I want to give up any equity? So basically our model is to charge a premium on rent or a tuition, however you want to think about it. And yeah, people just pay us. Our goal is to get up to $350 a month on top of their living expenses. And that would be enough for us to pay for the coach and the program leads. But yeah, right now we're just doing it pretty much for free so that we can get the best talent and build a brand for ourselves.
Has anyone done anything like this, or what would you say is the closest competition out there to this?
Build Space is probably the closest. And there is this HF0 residency, but their business model is to invest into the people who go through their program. There, they're living in a mansion in San Francisco. So definitely a lot of great stuff they're doing there, but might be harder to scale because they need to invest into everyone who's coming there rather than getting money from them. And then Build Space, they're mostly focused on an online program, and they do have a 3-month program in San Francisco and in Dubai, but they don't offer residential space, just the co-working space. So yeah, one of our co-founders is actually going through Build Space, and he's excited to collaborate with them. So I could see them taking over co-working. We do residential, and it's still very early to say that, but
I mean, there are lots of opportunities for partnership as you're building this out.
yes.
And I love that you're focused on the scalability here in a lot of ways, democratizing the opportunity for entrepreneurship. But I'm curious how big you think this can actually be, because not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. A lot of people are going to choose the traditional college path still.
I totally agree with that. Right now, 62% of Gen Z wants to be an entrepreneur. So at least a majority want to try that out. I think many, once they get into it and understand how much time and effort is required, might not feel the same.
Mm-hmm.
But even like new jobs that are popping up, like being an influencer, and there it's like they kind of are their own entrepreneur, and the gig economy.
I think a lot of Gen Z sees that as an entrepreneurial venture because they're doing it on their own.
Yeah. So like depends how you start to define entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
But I think most people have something that they'd want to bring to life and create. And if they don't, then they would be a great like early employee at these companies. So I definitely think that with AI, technology will be democratized and the ability to build businesses will be so much easier. So I think you'll start seeing a lot smaller teams and people who are all doing things that they love in a more niche way that is targeted at the community that they're serving. So I think big businesses will still be there for certain things for sure, but I think a lot of smaller businesses will be able to thrive in the new economy to come.
So I see a lot of the opportunities with this. I'm curious what the biggest challenges have been or are that you're facing right now.
Yeah, one thing is giving a personalized experience to everybody, because that is a huge goal of ours, is to make sure that no one's doing anything that they feel is not worth their time. So the coaching is really where we're trying to do that the most right now. And that's onboarding people, trying to ask the right questions about what they care about most. Because for some people, it's health or like financial literacy or productivity habits. So for each person, it's slightly different. And it might not be the traditional education sense, like, oh, I need to learn how to code, which they can just do online very easily nowadays. So figuring out how to provide the proper services for all these different needs is definitely a challenge. And that's, like you mentioned, partnerships. I think that would be a great way. Here at Necker Island, we met so many interesting people who are providing great services in so many different domains. So excited to potentially collaborate with people who are already doing stuff that would support founders and just generally people living a healthy life.
So I typically save this for the end. I have a couple more questions, but since you just said that, I always like to ask if someone listening wants to reach out and offer to do something to help with you, like if they wanted to partner with you, what are you looking for that you would respond so positively to and be ecstatic about?
A lot of things for sure. If people want to start a house, they already have residential location or a co-working space, and they want to support founders living in their community, that would be amazing, because we're like very excited about scaling to new locations. If they have something they want to teach young people or talk to young people about, we have fireside chats where people come in and get to learn from experts. Yeah, those are some definitely of the top ones.
I love that. And since you mentioned we're here at the Principal Business Summit, I'm curious, what's the experience been like for you so far?
It's been amazing. So many interesting people from various backgrounds and in such a beautiful location. This does not capture half of it or even a tenth of it. So yeah, just being able to be surrounded by people who care about building a free and prosperous future is very exciting. Being in San Francisco, you definitely find pockets of that, but to be surrounded by like 40, 50 people who all share those values and mindsets towards, yeah, really doing good for the world and using business as a force to do good for the world is really inspiring to be around.
Well, you're doing that not only in being here, but in building the residency and focusing on building up these communities of incredible entrepreneurs, which I just so appreciate. Glad that we're able to help to be able to put this together so that you and others are able to connect around this and do what we can to support you.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been a great experience of life.
Same here. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.